So good afternoon. Happy Wednesday. My name is Rob Romanowski. I'm the Director of Sales Operations with 3HTI. And today we're going to take a look at some of the issues that you might be facing regarding change management and how Windchill PLM addresses those issues. So leading a presentation and a demo today on Windchill Change Management is Zach Carson, a solutions consultant with PTC and an application engineer with the Virtual Center of Excellence. So very excited to have Zach on today, and very excited specifically to be talking about this subject, which seems to be very popular with everyone. So we appreciate the turnout. We're really excited to provide good content and good information that people are interested in. So this is going to be about what, Zach, about 30 to 40 minutes?
Yep, right around there.
All
Probably
right.
closer to 30 a little bit.
So without further ado, Zach, take it away.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Rob.
You're welcome.
So yeah, everyone, today we're going to go through Windchill change management at a pretty high level. We'll go through a change process. You'll see the different steps. You'll see what that whole, kit and caboodle looks like in Windchill. So where we're going to start is really with challenges. We talk to a lot of companies in the industry, and we've found in these conversations that a lot of them face pretty similar challenges when it comes to managing changes and setting up workflows. It starts with the fact that just a lot of people have really slow and really inefficient change processes. And a lot of times that stems from the fact that it's really, really difficult to get all of the information that's required for a change. It's more than just the thing that you're changing. We're talking about what's being changed, why is it being changed, who's going to be involved with the change, what are their roles in the change process, and then on top of that, getting input from stakeholders on the change as well, right? It's not just something for engineering. If you want to get the most out of change management, you want to get the most out of your systems and be the most efficiently run company, you want everyone to be involved. Now, not having all of this sorted out really results in a lack of visibility into change status. So say, for example, one person's responsible for approving something in a change process, and that person goes on vacation for 2 weeks. If you don't have visibility into the process and you can't see where it's stuck in that process, then at that point, it's really hard to adjust to the situation and reassign tasks, kind of work around that person being out and change it to someone who's capable of picking it up where it's at and keeping the process moving. Lastly, the ERP, the MES system, a lot of times they get out of sync with engineering. So whenever that happens, you're not really taking into account all of the processes required to take this product from the digital design to reality. PTC's solution to these challenges is Windchill Change Management. So it's a way for you to really organize your change process to make sure that everybody has the information they need for their role in the change, and then automate the workflows as much as you can so that these processes run as efficiently as possible. So really, what does this look like in Windchill? What are the capabilities that we're talking about with change management? So first off, you're getting out of the box workflows. These are already set up. They're ready to be used for changes, just like this one you see here. If you have your own use cases, your own preferred workflows, these are totally scalable. They're completely tailorable to fit whatever you want your process to look like. You can have these workflows set up to be as simple or as complex as you want, with any steps you want, with any conditionals you want. It's going to be set up by you in whatever way makes sense for your company and for your processes. You're given visibility into the change process to see the information you need to understand exactly what's happening. So if you take this picture on the right, for example, the red triangle at the top is telling us that first and foremost, there's a change in progress here. Okay, this part is currently being changed. It's really just an indicator. If you look on the left-hand side, on the top left, you can see another indicator that's telling the people who are looking at this, you're not looking at the latest version of this part. So Windchill's giving people some information to let them know that something is happening to this part. what you can see here is underneath of that in these different tables, we're really outlining the change. So the first section is just basically saying this is the problem that we're dealing with. The brake pad is overheating. Next step is the change request, and that's taking that problem and we're requesting for a change to happen. We're reviewing what the problem is. We're maybe laying out a potential fix to that problem. We're getting together different resources. And then at the bottom, we're actually starting to really carry out that change and to implement that change and make the changes happen. So really what this gives us is full visibility into this change process from the start where the problem was identified all the way to the end to where the solution has been, the remedy has been put into place, and now the whole change is being propagated throughout the system. Now, within the change process, there's really 4 different change objects, right? These are all related to each other, and you can follow a few different processes here. First is just what we call the fast change process. And really what that is it's a quick, it's a streamlined process versus the full change review board. So really this process outlines what a change process might look like in Windchill. You can first off start with a problem report that you put into Windchill, and that's going to let the designers know of the particular problems that are actually being reported. This is what we found. Now, a lot of times, this might not even necessarily be engineering. This could be someone, say, in operations or in manufacturing that documents a problem that they find while completing an assembly. But we want to connect everybody. That's what Windchill is all about. We want to collaborate. So maybe they are the ones who find the problem. They maybe use Creo View to submit a problem. That kicks off a workflow where it goes to the right engineers who are then going to figure out the root cause of the problem and what needs to be fixed. So that's really the first step, the problem report. Now that step is optional. So is the deviation or waiver. So a deviation or waiver is it's almost a temporary change to a process or a product. So you're not really saying there's a problem, but you're saying that you want to make a change for some reason. It's not necessarily because something's gone wrong. You just want to make a change. Both of those are optional steps. What's not optional is starting out with a change request. You have to have a change request and you have to have a change notice. A change request is where you are officially requesting the changes and gathering information on what resources you would need to complete the change. At this point, none of the resources have actually been assigned. The last step is the change notice. So with this, we're committing people, we're committing resources, and we're going to make this change happen. When we finish that, when we go through and we complete the change, we finish everything there, you close out the change request, you close out the change notice, you close out the change request, and then if you had any problem reports, you would close those out as well. And this is indicating to all of the users in your company who are working in Windchill that we have completely addressed these problems. It's done. Now everybody who goes into Windchill is going to be looking at the new version of whatever we actually went through and changed. All right. So with that being said, let's go ahead, now that you have a bit more of a background on what the change management in Windchill looks like, let's go ahead and jump into Windchill and we'll actually walk through a change process so you can see what this looks like in action. All right, so for this demo, we're going to be working with a product that we have. If you've been on calls with me in the past, you might have seen this particular model before. This is our Synergy Pro car. And within this product structure on the left, I actually have a particular subassembly that already has a change out against it. So we're going to go ahead and open that up. It's our brake assembly. Now, for those of you that have never worked in Windchill before, a couple things that I want to point out real quick before we get into it too deep. First off, that part structure is made up of those gray gears, and those gray gears are called WT parts. It stands for Windchill Technology Part, and these are really, really important in Windchill. They're essentially, each one of them essentially acts like a placeholder for an object to build out that part structure. They basically act like buckets. So each one of them contains data and information pertaining to whatever that part is. So it could be, information that you get from a supplier, something like a PDF or a document. It could be CAD data. It could be manufacturing plant information. Could be engineering drawings. You put them in the bucket. It relates everything together. And you'll see as we go through the demo, that really makes our life a little bit easier whenever we're managing changes, because it's going to Windchill through these WT parts can identify all of the related information that might be impacted by our changes. Right, so we're going to go ahead and open up this subassembly. And if you think back to the PowerPoint a minute ago and those indicators that we had, you'll see the same thing here. So we have the red triangle at the top telling us that a change is underway. We also have a go to latest indicator on the left saying that we're not actually looking at the latest version of this thing. Now we're going to start today in the changes tab. And this is where we're going to go to really look at the changes on a granular level. So the first table that we have is issues and variances. If you think back to that diagram, this is your problem report. This is where we're defining the problem that's happening and we're explaining what's going wrong. Below that, we have change requests. So that's where all of our information pertaining to this change is. And this is the resources that really we need to make this change happen. The last step there is the change notice. And in this case, in Windchill, we actually break it down into two kind of subcategories. So the first one, affected by change notice, this is where we're committing the personnel and the resources and the changes are happening. The difference between affected by change notices and resulting by change notices is just, it's the same objects in both tables, but resulting from, or you're going to see the new version of, let's say, a part or a document that's being changed. Affected by, you're going to see the version pre-change. So you have affected by is pre-change, resulting from is post-change. That's really the difference there. Now, today, we're just going to start by looking at this problem report. So right from that changes screen, I can just click on the problem report and you'll see here, this is where we have all of this information around this problem report. So all of the details, all of the attachments. I have tabs for the process, for the history. So this is the one place I have to go to see everything for this problem report. And if I look at attachments, you can see there's a couple different attachments we have here. I actually have a URL to my quality information, and I also have a PDF that's documenting the problem. Below that, there's associated annotations. Now, this is really nice because what we have here is a Creo View annotation. If you're not familiar with Creo View, it's basically a universal viewer and it's all about collaboration. So when we talk Creo View, what this tool really is it's going to open any files you have. If you have documents, CAD models, engineering drawings, ECAD, it can all be opened in Creo View and you don't have to have a license to the native system. What's great about it for change management is this allows us to, in the context of the model, comment on what's going on with this problem. So in this case, I might be someone I might be a tester, right? I'm in operations, I work in testing, and I'm not in engineering. I don't necessarily, go into Windchill too much, but on my computer, I have access to Creo View. So what I'm going to do is open up this Creo View, open up the model in Creo View, and in the context of the model, say what I found while I was testing this part. And what I found was the brake disc is getting really, really hot. So I'm going to go into Creo View and leave a comment, and I'm going to save this to Windchill. What happens then is this goes to the appropriate, say, engineer or appropriate team who needs to look at this and figure out what's going wrong and maybe kick off that change process. So this tool is great for communication. It's great for collaboration. If you already have Windchill, then you already at least have a light version of this tool, which would allow you to do what we're doing today. So make sure you're using it. It's a really nice tool to have. You already have it, and it can really benefit your company quite a bit. So now that we know what that problem is, because we looked at that annotation in the problem report, we can also take a look at some affected end items. So this is basically just saying, we're working on this brake disc. The end item within this assembly is an end item within this assembly. We can go down a little bit and you can see associated process objects and reference objects. These are all just really in the top. It's different aspects for the problem report, but these process objects are actually where we get into the change request. So that's actually what we're going to look at here. I don't have to go back to the change home screen. I can just click on it from here, this associated process object, and this is going to jump us into the change request. All right, now what you'll notice just by looking at this is the change request has really the same information as the problem report, but it is a little bit of a different type of change object in Windchill. The interface, however, is the same. So you see the same tabs, it's set up the same, which is really nice for whoever's going to be working with changes in Windchill. It's consistent. You don't have to learn, where everything is for each step. It really just looks the same. Navigation's the same. The interface is the same. So it's going to be easy to learn. Now, the difference here from the problem report to the change request is the change request is really where we're going to go to get a good understanding of what the change impacts are so that you can get all of the information you need to solve the problem and to understand the future impact of this change all in one place. Now, if you look here, if I just go to the affected objects, within this category, we have another associated annotation. And in this case, this is actually another Creo view visualization. So while the first one documented the problem, hence the problem report, in this change request, we're making use of Creo view once again, and we're saying what we actually are going to need to be changed. So in this case, it's to redesign the brake disc to prevent it from overheating, right? We don't necessarily maybe even know specifically what's going to change, but we're saying a change generally that needs to happen to mitigate this problem, right? What you're seeing really is the ability to put different annotations and have different information for each step of this change process. If I scroll down a little bit more, you can look at the affected objects. This gets back to those WT parts. So I mentioned what the WT parts are before, and in change processes, what's so nice about them is Windchill will automatically now gather the resources that could be impacted by this change. I don't have to go through and manually find that information. That takes a long time. There's also a human element to that where naturally we just miss things. Automating that through the use of WT parts, which Windchill just does automatically, it says, all right, if you're changing this document in this bucket, then I know that everything else in that bucket could be affected as well. And it adds it to this list for us. So I'm not manually tracking anything down. Windchill is telling me what could be impacted by this change. Doesn't mean that it will be, but it's saying these are the things you need to look at and then determine if they're going to be affected or not. All right. Below that, we have our associated process objects. So right from this screen, just like we did before, bouncing from the problem report to the change request, now we can click on these, and this is going to take us to our change notice. And I'm just going to click on the information icon to do that. And then you'll see at the top here that now we've moved into this change notice. Once again, interface is really the same, right? The layout's the same. I have my details. In this case, I have my implementation plan, and then process and history we've seen on both of the previous change objects as well. So that's standard regardless of what we're looking at. All right. Now at this point, we've gone through the problem report. We looked at the change request, and really we know, what's essentially being changed. We know what's going wrong. We know what needs to be fixed. So at this point, we're going to look into the actual execution of this change. And I'm going to start in the process tab, because this is where I'll go to see the members as well as the workflow for this particular change. As I mentioned before, there are standard workflows that are built into Windchill. However, they are very configurable. So this is a pretty complex workflow. Yours might be less complex, it might be more complex, it really doesn't matter. But this is what it really looks like. So this app really probably isn't something that any user, any average user in Windchill is going to have access to. This is probably more of like a manager or even an admin, level thing. But setting up workflows, you could do it all here. So you're basically going to point the arrow from where you want the change process to go from and to. You're going to define where you want, approvals, reviews, releases. You'll say where you want conditionals. You're going to lay this whole workflow out yourself. Of course, a lot of it's done if you're just using a template. Even if you use a template, you can configure that as well. But this is going to be set up by you to match your specific workflow. So whatever makes sense with your company and with your processes. Right. So now that we've seen the process that this change is going to follow, let's take a look at the implementation plan. And this is where the change notice really starts to differ from the other two change objects, being the problem report and the change request. But this is really where you'll go to divvy up the tasks that you need users to complete for this change. So in this case, I'm logged in as Dave, the design engineer, and I have 3 tasks just being assigned to me. Now you can see on the right, you could see number 1 on the left, actually, what the name of each one of these tasks are. So I have update CAD model, republish the representation of the drawing, and then the last step is to update the BOM. This screen lays out the status of each one of these steps of this whole process. So first 2 have already been completed. They're done. And you can see in the sequence on the right, the order in which they need to be done. So this order can have rules applied to it as well. You cannot go into step 3 without completing step 1 and 2, for example. In this case, 1 and 2 are already done. We're going to go into 3, and we're going to actually go through and update the BOM for this brake assembly. We'll walk through this process, but we know from this screen, the first 2 steps are done. The last one is all that we still need to address. Before we get into addressing it, what I'm going to do is just open up the previous steps here, steps 1 and 2, and really get a good understanding of, what's already been done. So, the first step here, looking at this, I'm just looking at my affected objects. So these are the ones that are going to need to be changed. Resulting objects, these are the ones that it's the same objects between these 2 tables, but resulting tells me that these have already been changed. So what I could actually do is compare them, which I'll do here. I just click on the scale and it's going to tell me exactly what has changed in this comparison report. What you can see here is the actual assembly, well, the part in the CAD system, it's Creo part. This has been changed. So we started with A.8 pre-change, made whatever the change is. Now it's going to B.1, so we can see that the change has happened. And then there are the actual files themselves within the WT parts. So I would be able to open up these parts in Creo right from here or in SolidWorks or whatever tool you're using and actually see those changes. Okay, so in this case, it's just been really to add the holes to the brake disc in order to help dissipate that heat. Right. The nice part about doing it that way is since everything is from that one screen, right from that change notice, someone would be able to just look at that model. So they know whenever they go to look at the model, they're looking at the right one because it's the one that's being used in that change process. They're not looking at the change process, going off in another window and searching a part, which may or may not end up actually being the correct part. This makes sure that you're looking at the right thing. Now, moving back to the home screen, we'll go ahead and actually start to complete these tasks. So the first task here is just to complete the change notice task. It's to update the bill of material for the brake assembly. This has been assigned to me, so I'm going to go ahead and open up the task assistant, and we're going to run through this. I always like to use the task assistant because for me, it's just nice to have that box there and basically to keep me on task. The other nice part about it is or the task and the subject are both hyperlinks. If I get off track, it's going to take me back to the actual change task. All right, so for this one, we'll go into the affected objects, and this is my break assembly. So my task is to update the BOM, and what I'm going to do that is I need to open up the manufacturing associative part structure browser, because what I have is the design BOM on the left has already been changed. It's already been updated, but I have a downstream bill of material for manufacturing, and that's really what my task is. It's to update that downstream MBOM. So that's exactly what I'm going to do here. It's really simple, honestly. All that I'm really doing is saying to select on the equivalent parts on both sides, between the two BOMs. And you can see in the icons at the right of each column, there's green check marks that say there's a matching model on both sides. Both of them are equivalent. And then the clocks say that they're not actually in sync. So that gives me a clear understanding of which ones need to update. So what I'll do is just select them all at once. And then you can see there's an option to update to the current upstream equivalent object. And what that's going to do is take my MBOM, take whatever is obsolete, and update it to the matching version on the new and updated model. And you can see in the visualization on the bottom, it's literally the click of the button, and those updates are made for me. All right. Now, what you'll also notice is if you've worked in Windchill before, you already know how this process works, but we do use a check-in and check-out system. So as we go to make changes on anything, you check it out. While it's checked out, I can make changes. Nobody else can. So we're, preventing the possibility of last save wins, of anyone overwriting each other's work. When I made those changes right there, Windchill automatically checked this part out for me. So now that I'm done with them, I'll just go ahead and check it back in. And that check-in is successful. I see my notification. So we can now go ahead and jump back into this task, because that's really what I needed to do. I needed to update that MBOM. So I'm just going to use that task assistant to take me to the task, leave a comment. It's always good to leave comments so everyone else knows what you did while you had it checked out. And then once I'm finished with this comment, I'll just go ahead and leave a task and we'll be good to go. Or complete the task and we'll be good to go. All right. For the next portion of this, well, the last portion, we're going to sign in as a different user. This time it's going to be Pat, the product manager. And, he has a different task, which is to actually review the changes to the bill of material that I just made as Dave, the design engineer. Now, what you'll see is in this home screen, I already had this task. It was automatically assigned to Pat once Dave completed his task. We're automating as much of this as possible. That's what makes it more efficient. That's what ensures that we don't make mistakes and that nothing gets lost in translation. So automate as much as you can. Of course, you have options as to how much of it you do automate, but if you can automate, it's definitely going to help. So here, I'm going to go in and just review this change. We'll go to task completion. We're going to say that we reviewed it, and then I can just add comments, and I'll tell Dave, you did a great job. Thanks for the help. Then we'll complete this task. Now that I reviewed that and I completed my task, I was actually the next one in that workflow again. And my job is to audit that change notice. So I can go ahead and tell Windchill I'm going to accept this task. Just like what we've seen, in the past, we have a lot of the objects, all of the objects that are actually attached to this change. These are all of the WT parts that we've seen and the files that we've seen as we've gone through this process. It's the same thing here. And what I'm going to do is just go ahead and open up the task assistant like I did before, keep me on task. And then we'll open up the actual assembly. So what you can see here is right now, we've gone through the change, we've reviewed the change, we've approved the change, we've updated the bill of materials. The last step that we really need to go through is to actually release this to everyone who's going to be viewing it in Windchill. So maybe these changes are done and then you're not releasing them right away. You might be setting a date, a release date. That's exactly what we're going to do here. So the changes actually happen. We've done really all of the work. So all I'm going to do now is go to the latest version. And basically, we need to just set the effectivity date. All right, so I'll come down to this resulting from change notices. Remember, these are the changes after they have actually been updated. That's what this category is. We'll go to the implementation plan. So now you can see step 1, 2, 3 have all been completed. And I'm just going to come down to the resulting objects table. And like I said, we're going to say, I want to set the effectivity date. And this is really going to be the date where these are going to actually be released. Everyone is now going to be viewing this updated version, which we'll set a certain date for. This is going to be completely chosen by you. We'll do it for each one of these. Looks pretty good. And then the last step is just to set the state. Okay, so whenever it hits September, 17th, then they are all going to change from in work to released. Pretty straightforward. Use the task assistant, go back to the task, and really we're done. We've gone through, looked at a problem report, allocated resources, gone through and actually made the change itself, reviewed the change, updated the bill of material, set our effectivity date where it's going to be released to be viewed by everybody in the system. And now our product is going to be good to go. And you can see here, if you've never used it before, we have a compare part structure option, which I can compare the current, new, latest and greatest updated version to the original baseline version. And you can see how this has changed over time. But that really is change management at a very high level in Windchill. Right, so you can see this. A.5 was initial. You could see in blue what's changed within these part structures. You can see in the visualization clearly what these changes are. But that's really all there is to it, guys. At a high level, Windchill does a very good job with change management. We walked you through that process today. So now that you have a better understanding of what that process looks like, I just have a few more points that I'd like to hit on just to summarize really what this can do for you. So with all of your data residing in one PLM system, it enables you to react quickly to pressures that your company faces. So using workflow templates, Windchill automates a lot of these processes for you, and that accelerates your problem solving. And the process of implementing changes becomes way, way faster. It also makes the change management process extremely efficient. So everybody that's involved with changes knows exactly what their role is in the change process, and they have all the tools to execute on that. On top of that, managers have full visibility into each and every step of that change process and can make more informed decisions on future changes. Lastly, because of this increased visibility and full digital traceability, everyone is working together to make more informed decisions in Windchill, and that's going to increase your efficiency and increase your product quality. So that's all that I had planned to go through for this demonstration of Windchill Change Management. Thanks, everyone.
Excellent, Zach. Great presentation, great demo. Just a couple of points about Windchill. Windchill is it's scalable. So when you get into change management, you're definitely into the PLM side of Windchill. But Windchill can also be used as product data management. So there may be some of you out there that are thinking that this might be something that you would use in the future, but you're not using a data management system, or you're using your own type of system that might be kind of clunky. Feel free to respond to the emails email invitation or contact us at info@3hti.com if you want to learn more. And we could do an assessment and help you figure out what's best for your company, because Windchill is definitely one of those products that that you can grow over time and will adjust to your business needs no matter what the size of your business is. And there's a lot of companies that aren't using they've used PDM or PLM in the past, but it's built on older architecture, like a lot of the older, like some of the SolidWorks, PDM Works, and a lot of the SolidWorks product data management solutions and Team Centers built on old architecture. And I think Innovia is to some extent, or it has roots in the older architecture. But that's one of the reasons why Windchill is so nimble, and it can manage any CAD data. It doesn't matter if it's SolidWorks, Autodesk, if it's any type of CAD data, Windchill will manage it. So thanks again, everybody, for being on today. Next week, we are not going to have another webinar since it is the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, but we will have a webinar on the 30th that will talk about the PDM capabilities of Windchill. So once again, if you have any questions, just respond to the email that you received for this webinar. They come directly to me, or you can email us at info@3hti.com. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.